So I'm fresh out of the shower, and one of my shower thoughts was, like, I want to come back. Like, it's time to come back. I feel it in my bones. It's time to come back. But like, as a creator that is making these videos for you, it's also about making these videos for me. They're very helpful for me. So like, literally, it's my hope that it's helpful some way for you, but they're helpful for me. But as a creator, I have some sort of like thing about conveying my message appropriately. And by appropriately, I mean that you understand the pivotal moments and you feel part of like the shift. You feel part of the mental shift or the mental growth or the struggle or the strife or the despair or the something. You feel something. And if I don't do it properly, if I get the conveying of the message wrong, it doesn't matter how great my like aha moment is at the end. It doesn't matter what my message is. It doesn't matter, just kind of doesn't matter as much. It matters because it was something to me, and I kind of like wasted my time explaining it to somebody else, and then I did it badly, or like I didn't do it in a way that was like gonna be like well received. I just did it in a way that I felt was like the best that I could do that day. But like, when I do it properly and when I do it right, it feels doubly fulfilling. Because I individually, I don't know why I'm even really talking about this, but it's like, it's a problem. It's a comeback problem is what I'm trying to explain. It's like, where do I, as a person that is creating content around my existence as a human being and sharing that, how do I just start again after I've stopped? Because it's like, you're meeting me again for the first time. I'm still kind of the same, right? But I've changed a tiny bit. Mentally and physically. And so like, where do I pick up the story there? It's like, I have a lot of like, creative things that like make my brain tingly and lovely again. And like, for me, that's the best part of, I don't do sound bites. I don't think I'm too wordy and I'm too like explainy to like have a sound bite, but like, I really do like a crystallized moment to like explain to you something. It doesn't even have to be good. It could be like a totally negative thing to like explain to you about what I've learned about myself or what I've learned about human existence or something like that. So like, it's easy for me to like understand where you are as an audience and where I am as a storyteller of the story. When I do it consistently, I can see from your feedback where I'm going wrong in the storytelling. I can see where I'm going right, and you get it. My message is being conveyed in a way that you consume it as I intended. That makes me really happy. It's more of a difficult process if it's like some sort of thing that is not easy to digest. It's easy to digest somebody's happiness. It's easy to digest somebody's linear success. It's easy to digest something that you can relate to because you would see yourself doing that. Anytime it's outside of those boxes, it's like, how do I explain this to somebody? The process of what I just did. And then how do I explain to somebody that even though it sounds bad on paper, it was monumental and life-changing and way better than anything I could have done, like, that followed normal standards of like what people do with their lives. Like, it taught me so much more, or like it left me just better. So how do you explain complicated things to people? Because there's always an element of, there's some things that's going to be lost in translation. And as a creator, you have to be okay with that. But it's like more of your baby when it's like stuff about your own life. I talk about my own life all the time because that's basically what I know about. I'm not going to tell you, you know, anything else except for my own experience. And I feel like there's truth in that, but there's also like, it's very personal. And so it's not just like I drew a picture of a house and then I showed you the house and then you can tell me if like my picture sucked. It's like, this is what I've done with my life. These are the choices that I've made, and this is how it's panned out in my head, and this is how it's panned out in reality, and this is the aftermath. And it's like, there's a lot of risk in sharing things like that, but there's also a lot of reward because we're all human, right? There's some sort of element, even if you would never make the same choices that I did, there's some sort of element of like, you can understand as a person, like how that would be. And there's something nice about that. There's something very personal about that when there's not a lot of personal, there's a lot of weird surface stuff, but I always found like the best kind of content was like, it touched deeper or more truthful. And that's scary to go to as a person when people can pick your life apart. I'm not telling you stories about somebody else's life. I'm telling you stories about my own life. And at times I'm not really removed from that. So it's scary, but also at times it's like, why am I doing this? It's like, for what freaking gain? Like, it does matter to me if I have personal wins. It does matter to me to share how I got there so that other people can see that there's different ways in order to have aha moments. I feel like aha moments are really something that you should strive for. Unless that's like not your thing, which I could see that that's not your thing, but I think a lot of people want to have moments in their life that matter to them, and that's kind of like what I mean by an aha moment. So the way that I go about my aha moments could be totally different than yours, but like, I just want to evoke something in you as you watch my content that's like, this is how somebody did this, and this is where they needed to go. You can't stay in a safe space all the time, but also it's not very healthy to like go out on a limb and do risky moves all the time either. This is what happens when somebody has made this type of choice, and this is how it panned out for real. Like, that's kind of like where I am comfortable going in my own personal choices, but then to tell you about them. And then to open it up for you to like consume in whatever way that you want to, knowing that I'm never going to be fully understood. And that's part of the process of taking the risk of just explaining something that was an aha moment for me. So where do I go as far as how do I jump back into the story? Like, I just barely got much better physically, and I can talk about like where I'm at physically. I am kind of at a weird crossroads financially, which I feel like is very relatable for a lot of people right now. So that's playing into like, where do I start this again? I do want to start this again. I feel like I don't know if it's like my duty, which sounds stupid, but it's like, this is kind of like sort of what I enjoy and what I'm good at. And like what I mean by that is like, I feel like I'm good at just talking about a thought process and have that be normal. And not being really too worried about like hiding behind like the judgment that I think that you're going to give me based upon what I'm saying. I feel like that prevents a lot of people from like truly seeing them, like truly wanting to be seen. I think that that's normal. Not everybody wants to be picked apart, and not everybody's like mentally strong enough in themselves in order to like handle being picked apart. And the fact that like I do this very low key, I do this low key with the possibility of a lot of people watching, but like not a lot of people watch. Does that make sense? It's like, I understand that it could be consumed by a lot of people and they not get it, but at the same time, the people that have consumed my content in the past, like they find it for a reason, and like that feels special to me. So anyways, I feel like I'm good at explaining how I got to somewhere, but like I don't want to lead you anywhere. I don't even want to lead myself somewhere. And so it's just really about like understanding where you're at, like with a level of awareness. I'm bringing awareness to like my actions, and I'm kind of like talking you through major things that everybody like kind of goes through. Instability with finances is currently one of them, like I was saying. And what do you do with that? Instability with your role that you play in society. I don't think I'm aging out, but like I'm no longer kind of like a fumbling around 20-year-old. I'm kind of like not really a full success as an entrepreneur, but I'm not like, I have some understanding of what I'm doing in terms of like my career. So it's like, where do I'm like not an idiot, but I'm not like super successful. So it's not like I'm at any of those extremes of like, how do I make content? It's very easy to make content of like, I'm a loser and I don't know what to do with my life. I could be a loser, and sometimes I don't know what to do with my life, but sometimes I have a very good clue on what to do. And so you as a viewer, it's like, do I relate to this person? Because there's a lot of content on those extremes, right? But me as a person, I'm kind of like hovering in the middle sometimes. I'm at like my confident level at sometimes. I'm at, I have no idea what I'm doing, and this is why I'm doing the other things in my life. It's like a real mix of stuff. It's never like very easy to explain to you where I'm at, and like the mix of things that's making me explain where I'm at. The whole dating thing, I can get dates. I know how to be dateable, but yeah, I can't find love. There's there's a lot of content around I've given up on love, and like I just have decided to be alone. There's like one like extreme of that versus like how to have like a happy marriage of like 20 years, and like the other extreme where like you don't have to date anymore. I'm kind of like somewhere in between. Like I know how to date, but like I'm not finding what I'm trying to find, but yet I'm doing actionable things that are kind of questionable to kind of like self-sabotage myself at the same time of my other things of life, right? So it's like I'm no longer super a sick person. I'm kind of much better. So my channel is not about being a super sick person anymore. And my channel is not about like trying to figure out how to navigate the health system anymore. I'm kind of like in the middle of all these things. It's like, how do you express that to like the viewer? It's like, what is the main stable thing here then? So like the main stable thing here then is that I have a quest for aha moments. That is the stable thing. The topics will change. How I deal with them will change. My skill in dealing with them is going to ebb and flow, based upon my stress. Based upon, how intelligent I am that time that I decided to like navigate that problem. What else am I dealing with at this point in time? Am I giving my all into this, or am I giving just 10% because the other 90% of my life is consumed by something else, right? So it's like, I'm not an advice channel, but I never tried to be. I just tried to show you this is, the real progression of how things happen, I feel. But like I do understand how that can be weird, for content. And it's like, I want my content to be consumed in the way that I intend it to, or very close to. But like at some point I just have to like give that up and just like let you do what you want with it and be okay with that. So I guess this whole video is like, how do I come back? And I guess how I come back is like, I just kind of like wanted to talk to you about, like, I understand that I'm not going to wrap up my content for you in like a pretty bow and we're gonna start off chronologically where we left off. It's not gonna be like that, because there's no way that it would take weeks for me to just be like, okay, I think they're ready to hear this, right? So I think I'm just trying to like make a video of like, I'm ready to be creative again, and I'm ready to be open again, because my mind and body are stronger again. I don't know if I'm at the level before I was ill to like handle like mental things being thrown my way as far as like judgment of the internet. Like, you have to be pretty strong in order to share vulnerable things about yourself when it's a really hitting home thing. So like the magic is in sharing things that are kind of scary. Yes, the magic is in sharing uplifting things as well. The magic is in sharing success stories or like stuff like that. But I feel like for me, it's never that easy. I usually have to do some sort of crazy ass thing in order to get to my aha moments that I feel really compelled to share. And maybe my medium of like the share is like where I go wrong. And maybe this medium of share, like meeting like YouTube, making a YouTube video, it feels very intimate because you watch me, you watch my movements, you know my like mannerisms, you know what I look like, versus like if I just wrote a book. That seems very removed. And I could even like make like a fake name, a pseudonym or whatever, as an author. And I could share what I wanted to share and it be consumed. Like people, you know, would read it or whatever, and then they could like digest it and they'd have time. They could put it down whenever they wanted to. But like, this is a very strange little like way of sharing. I do it because it's convenient. But it's also like there's something in it that's like very intimate because you see me. You see me in my real house. Like, this is not a set, right? Like, I came from the shower. Like, I don't even have like makeup mask on. Like, I'm not trying to hide behind anything. So like, you can see my tone of voice, and you can see like my facial expressions. I'm really like animate sometimes. I get really worked up. I'm like kind of excited. You can see that and you can experience that, but it's like on your own time. You can pause me, you can exit, you can do whatever. The same as a book. You can like put it down, give it to somebody else, you could throw it away, put it in one of those like little like libraries on a stick at like a national park parking lot. Have you seen those? I like those actually. Like the share the book thing. I don't know how we got on that, but there's something intimate about this that it like lets you take a real peek into somebody's stuff that they don't mind sharing because it's for like the greater good of it. When I was ill, it was so hard for me to like want to, number one, do anything in my real life besides getting better. And it's like, that's very stagnant for like a creative person. It's like, ugh, every single decision I made was like keeping my existence alive in like the least annoying way. Basically, like I just wanted all of my symptoms to go away so that I could think outside the box, the box of keeping alive. And little by little, I got better, and I'm still in the process of getting better. But during that time, like things evolved and things happened, and my mind got stronger, and because I let that kind of heal again. And it's like, am I ready to am I ready to make this kind of content again? Because I feel a shift, but I also feel like it's just not even really a shift, it's just a progression. It's a progression of everything that I've done, even though none of the things that I've done in my life feel very like premeditated. It's like all about, this is just what felt right based upon what I have in my head. It's not what felt right looking at things on paper. Like what I do kind of sort of doesn't make sense sometimes. So I guess what I'm saying is, it feels like a lot, but it feels ready. It also feels like I'm excited because I feel like things are moving and shifting, but like they're staying the same, which is kind of a confusing concept. Things are staying the same because I have the same desire. I have the same North Star, which is to share aha moments and to share connection and to share realness. Like that is like the same, it's the same, but how I do it and what I talk about and what I'm doing in my life that I would therefore talk about like later on is a little bit different, because obviously I exist in the world. So meaning like I don't just exist in a vacuum. If I existed in a vacuum, I could predict what I'm going to talk about. I could predict my content, and I could like strategize. I could strategize the lessons, and I could analyze the lessons, and I could have everything like in a nice little bow for you. But it's like, this is not how it is. Like, I didn't anticipate being kind of like poor right now. I didn't anticipate like being almost 40 and not being in love. I didn't anticipate not understanding my purpose in the world at this point in my life. And I didn't anticipate like what all this means as far as what I'm sharing that I find important. Like I didn't anticipate all of that, because like the world exists and I exist in the world. It's like a symbiotic thing here. So if I just created a YouTube channel about my life and I was like, I really just want to inspire people, like to say that that was like my channel's content, really just want to inspire people. Like, how do I do that? You find one element of where you are highly successful, and then you break it down. You break it down, and then you hammer home every single video how that you're successful, and you convince people of your success, and then people see you as like, you know what you're doing. Right? This is very different. This is like a full admission of like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm a real person just like you that probably has no idea what you're doing, but like you're using your lessons that you learn in whatever way that you learned them, good, bad, and different, lots of tears and lots of happiness along those little journeys, and then I'm putting it out there that like it's not linear. Basically, it's not linear. It has no motive beyond I just am motivated to share aha moments with people, because I feel like that is what makes me alive, and I want you to feel alive. Does that make sense? It's like my content is confusing, and I know that. It's confusing because sometimes I understand where to guide the narrative, like where to guide, like how to story tell, and sometimes I don't. But I want you to understand me as a storyteller of the things that I want to convey. It always comes from like a good place. It's not from like a bad place. And it's not from like a judgy place, like how I'm trying to create. Like, I'm not trying to convince you of something. It feels weird to explain why my content is weird, but I feel like this was a nice way to like dip my toes back into where we'll go from here. I have no idea the timeline of like I don't want to call it a comeback, but like the timeline of like what my uploads are. I think in the past we did like a consistent timeline of every Friday, and that was like interesting because it forced me sometimes to reflect. I had a lot of time between the last video I made and this video to like reflect on stuff. And so maybe that's why I have a lot to talk about today. But like sometimes on the days that I just decided to make content, I had to like get really deep into the weeds of like what I was doing to get the content that I felt was the aha moments in that video. And like sometimes I wasn't ready as a person. I wasn't ready to do that. But I did it anyways and it was uncomfortable. Sometimes I was fully ready and I was super excited because it was just easier to share. So in a way, the consistency kind of like hinders my actual human experience because maybe I'm not ready to do that with you yet. And like, I don't know if like I just need 2 weeks, right? Like a lot can happen in a week, a lot can happen in an hour, but a lot can happen in 2 weeks. And there might be enough to like talk about on a consistent basis in 2 weeks. But something about it kind of like, I understand that you as a viewer, you need to like know, you know, when I'm gonna make a video so that you can know when to tune in, right? Like you know that like I'm going to consistently be there as far as like somebody to like watch something that might be entertaining for you. Like you want to know the consistency of that. But through the nature of like what I'm doing, I don't know if that's actually the best. Cause like, to be honest, I felt like it was a very big hindrance at times when I was going through tough times. So like when I didn't understand myself, like with the dating thing, or when I was first getting sick, it was a lot to like come back every Friday and be like, well, I'm more sick and I'm more desperate to like find an answer, or like I'm more heartsick because this is another week where another dude did the exact same thing to me that like I explained last week, or blah blah blah. Like not enough time had like gone by for me to just feel removed enough to tell you. And that's part of like my comfort in telling you, is that I need to feel like I'm explaining something, not that like I'm explaining my bleeding heart to you. That sucks because it's so vulnerable when there's nothing like stable keeping me like keeping me safe. It's all about like finding the balance of like what keeps me mentally safe and physically safe in order to like share something that touches on this is where the magic is. So I'm just kind of explaining out loud, I guess, like what am I gonna do as far as like coming to you with like a schedule. I don't know yet. I find this schedule appealing because I find it like it's good. It like puts a little bit of pressure on me to like really think about my actions, because you have to have a level of awareness to explain it to somebody, right? And explain like something in order to be consumed, you have to have a level of awareness. And when you give yourself a ton of time to like reflect, your level of awareness is not as at the ready. Like you'll give yourself time, or you won't even do the process of like analyzing it. So by having a consistent upload schedule, like I get that that's helpful for you, but it's also kind of helpful for me, but it's also stifling for me. So like, how do I do that? I'm not sure. You probably don't even care about like the dynamics of like what happens behind a sort of channel like this. But part of me is like, this is exciting to explain, because it's like, these are the pros and cons of the type of content that I'm doing. And like, I purposely pick this, not only because it's, has like a low level of barrier to entry. All I do is push record. I don't even get ready, really. I just push record. I like say my thoughts. I like use the internet and I like put it up. and like people can watch it or not. It's not like I have to like write a whole book and make it like published, and then I have to have an editor, and then I have to convince a publisher to like publish the book, and then it has to have marketing where like people can like read my stuff. Like that is a lot of barrier to entry versus like I'm just trying to share in the way that I know how something meaningful. Because to me, that's what like human existence, that's what you should strive for. You should strive to have meaningful aha moments for yourself or with others. I feel like that's fulfilling. Like that hits on something that is universally fulfilling, I feel. Maybe I'm just super wrong. So like, that's why I pick the lowest barrier of entry, but like the lowest barrier of entry is like YouTube, because like as long as I don't like get naked and like say weird things, like it's not going to be restricted. Like the opportunity for people to find it is always going to be there, right? Like as long as I like remain within like the normal guidelines of YouTube, like the possibility of somebody consuming it and having it be consumed in the way that I intend is at least there, versus like some other way that I could find it way more comfortable for me to like hide behind something, but to convey it in the same way and have the same hopes for that. So like there's problems with this media. There's like, I have to be brave, but at the same time, having to be brave helps me in my real life. Hiding behind a pseudonym or whatever and like writing a book about my life, that could be fun because that could be like commercially successful. Like there's low chance that like my content is going to go viral. It's just not the way that it is with the type of things that I talk about. So like there's pluses and minuses to everything. It's like what the magic happens when like the medium in which you've decided to share your thoughts is correct for your message, and then it's well received, and then it does what you intended it to do. And like that is like the symphony that you're always trying to chase as like somebody that decides to share something that, you know, not everybody wants to. And like I don't even really like it. Like I find this really like not enjoyable, but I find when it works, it's so enjoyable. So I guess that was like a lot of like basically nothing, but it's like everything if you were actually listening. So I guess that's where I kind of wanted to like talk. I wanted to kind of explain where I was at. I wanted to explain that we got lots to talk about. I wanted to explain like my purpose as I see it, what this is and what this isn't. None of this was like anything that I thought that I would tell you. I thought that I would like literally just say like, this is how I got better. This is what I've been doing, blah, 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 blah. Like in my head, it was much more boring than like what happened. What happened was I just kind of like, these are my real fears about starting over. And I was just like, let's just talk about it. In terms of like what you expect and what I expect and like how I want it to go. Also, it's weird to kind of say like I'm gonna do things slightly more different and like explain the reasons why. Like I don't know if I'm gonna do like the whole like every Friday I'm going to do this, because for a year I felt like my life was good as far as like analyzing stuff to tell you, but like I found like I might need more time, and like therefore my comeback might need to be adjusted a little bit to provide better content. And the content that would be better would be like I have a better grasp on how to deliver my message, and it feels comfortable and safe for me mentally so to like share that. because like I want to remind you that like this isn't easy, but it's something that I've chosen. So just because I've done it for a while doesn't mean I continuously want to do that. And like nobody's forcing me to do this, I understand, but like I feel compelled to do this, and it's like, well, I don't want to be super lazy and just make it the most easy for me, therefore never talking about difficult things. I could just like avoid that the whole time, and I could try to make connecting content, but I realize that I have to go there. I have to go there, and I have to bare my soul a little bit, but I want to do it in a way that's like good for me too, not just like bare my soul because I can, and like not have any like ideas about the repercussions of that for me mentally. That might be good for like content, that might be like, that might produce a good video, but I don't want to be known for like, ooh, that girl, she really told all the secrets. She really let it all hang out. Like I don't want to be known for that. I don't want to be known for I'll just tell you anything, and I don't like, I'm a private person, and so this is weird to me, but I don't have any idea of like how to explain why this just feels normal to like do this. Like to pursue this feels like the right path. To like tell you in a public way about my struggles being a human and my aha moments of that whole thing, good or bad, that feels right. And I don't know how to describe why that feels right, but it's like I understand my process because I've done this long enough, right? Like I've been on YouTube for like over 10 years now, but like really deep diving into like talking about the analysis of my actions and like what that means and stuff. I've been doing that about my life in sort of like real time, within like 1 to 2 months, or like kind of sometimes even 1 to 2 hours of like my actions. So I'm not very far removed from like how it affects me in my real life. And that is more difficult to explain than something that happened in the past. So anyways, this just feels right. And this feels part of like my journey of what I'm supposed to do. And to what end, I have no idea. Right? Like, it's not like I had this grand plan for the body of work that I'm creating. It's just something that I'm creating. And it's something that you consume or don't. And it just adds a fulfillment to my life. Because it feels difficult to do, and I've achieved something difficult. If I can publicly do this, there's interesting elements of like the why, but it's like I'm learning more about myself, where it's like I don't have to like punish myself so hard, that like it's only worth watching if I fully expose myself. Like I've learned that I can protect myself a little bit more, and I can do it more comfortably, even though this is an uncomfortable medium. So, I don't know. Hopefully that made a lot of sense. That's like my understanding of like my desire for this. It's like I want it to be more sustainable. Cause like I feel like there's like a lot of, I burn myself out. I burn myself out creatively. I burn myself out mentally. Cause like I operate in extremes. And so like therefore that like creates burnout. But like the sharing of something so private, as in like the real comings and goings of your actual life, and not just like in a fluffy way, in like a real way, that's exhausting. Because it's like it creates stress that other people are going to see you for you. That creates a stress. But yet I have to kind of like do that in order to convey my message in the way that I want it to be consumed. So it's kind of like this weird double-edged sword. So I guess I'm just kind of explaining like you know, what I am doing as far as like, not boundaries, but like what I'm doing as far as like creating a space that allows for that to happen, but also is like a little bit more protecting than I used to be. I can't help it if I get super sick again, because as I said, it's just like your mind is no longer like concerned with how do I pursue my North Star. Your mind is consumed with like, how do I just live? And that's like a different type of content, as you saw, different type of content. And I don't really want to like make content like that, because to me that's like kind of like not boring, because I feel like everybody needs to like understand how to be like physically resilient and then at the same time be mentally resilient. Like there's a shift. You're no longer creative. It's like accepting that you're no longer creative and you're just like it's all consuming of like basic needs. And it's very small world at that point. Like expansion happens when your basic needs are kind of met, right? As far as like, I feel pretty good about like just living today. So like, I don't want to erase those videos, and I don't want to like go back and explain and like wrap up like, oh, this is the conclusion of that. Because I don't feel like I need to. Like my content isn't linear anyways. And it's not like it's too private. It's just like, I don't know if that's the kind of content that I want to make right now. What I want to make is way more expansive than, you know, like we're better now. Or like, this is the next step of like being better, or like, this is the crap that I did. If you're interested in a specific thing and you have like questions about it, I'd be more than happy to make that. But like, that's not my first line of like action as far as like, okay, push record, this is what I'm going to talk about today. I want to make stuff that I find exciting, and what I find exciting is like no longer that stuff. We're past that. We moved on. But you didn't know that we moved on because that didn't happen to you. It happened to me. And I wasn't there to explain it. So anyways, I hope that you see that this is a weird channel, and I hope that you see that I don't even know where this is going. And I hope that you see that like I have no intentions for it to be linear. And I hope that you see that I have no intentions for it to be only helpful. Like sometimes I want you to be confused. Sometimes I want you to be like kind of like, what is this girl doing? Like, because that kind of like picks at different parts of your brain. And it's like, I don't want to be seen as like a person that you go to for such and such. I'm not a person that you should go to for such and such. I feel like, without getting too much into like my previous life on YouTube, it was a weird thing for me to be like part of like the beauty guru thing. Like if you've been here for a while, I feel like I'm just blabbing right now, but I feel like that's what we do here anyways. But it's touching upon like this time where like I was seen as like a white coat, meaning I started off YouTube as like a beauty guru. Like I braided my hair into a fishtail, and like I like recorded it on like my laptop webcam, and it was such bad quality, and I have no idea how I already knew how to do a fishtail braid. But like that was like back in the day when like people were like using YouTube for like definite things that you wanted to learn how to do. And so like one of my first popular videos was like how to fishtail braid your own hair, and it became like, oh, like beauty stuff was like really popular then. And it's like, I'm just a nobody that started using makeup at like 24 years old, which I feel is really late. And so the idea that I was like this person that like knew better, like people would like literally like message me, like DM me, be like, what is the best L'Oreal mascara? Like, I need to know. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, how do I know this? How did I become the authority on this subject just because I created a library of content of how to do something? To me, that was like, I didn't earn that. Like, I didn't create the formulas for mascara. I just make videos about how to like do it, right? Like, I don't know any better than you. In fact, you probably know better than me. And it's like very weird that I was like gifted this white coat thing. This like, I know more than you, meaning like a white coat, like doctor, or like, you know what I mean? Like authority figure. Like, how did I become like that? Like, I'm just like this poor girl that like happened to have like a good job, and like, you know, I lived with my boyfriend at the time, and all of a sudden I had a little bit of disposable income, more than I'd ever had in my life at that moment, and I bought excessive makeup because that's what everybody else was doing, and I just happened to take like a different spin on it because I didn't really know how to put on makeup that well, but I knew how to talk about it in like a scientific way. So that's how the whole like splurge versus save came about. I actually like looked at the ingredients of things and I broke it down. It's like not like I had like a science degree or something. I just saw like, this is content that I could be okay with making because it's like factual, right? Like I did some research and I presented it to you. And it's like, not like I know any of that stuff. And so like, it's the same exact thing for this. It's not like I know anything about life. I don't want to have like a white coat for like, this is how you go about life. This is how you should experience life. These are the highs and lows that you can chase. And like, I don't know any better than you do, honestly. And like, it's weird to me that if you create a library of content of just talking about something, somehow you become an expert on it. It's like, no, like I want you to like never see me that way. Therefore, you'll understand that like my message is not advice. And therefore you'll understand that it's just there to like provoke thought. That's all. That's all it is. And, I guess the reason that I want to make this is because I feel so many people like are not give up on life, but it's like they like are okay with like a very ho-hum life. And like there's comfort in like a ho-hum life, but it's like you're missing the beauty of like the one chance that you have at like human existence. And by sharing how I chased those things, I can tell you, like, empirically speaking, the chase of this particular high was super worth it. Or empirically speaking, the chase of this was really bad. This was a waste of my time. You should probably not do this because of such and such. And then you can decide, right? Like, I feel like people are just so scared to break out of what their comfort level is. And comfort level has so many different like influences. What personality type are you? How many resources do you have in the world? How many safety nets do you have if you take risk and you fall? Like, what do you have to catch you? It's like, if you're a poor person with like not a lot of friends and don't have a lot of mentors, and like, you know, like if like that was me, I would not want to, and I found a little bit of success, I would not want to break out of that, because like if you do anything wrong, it's going to be very, very, very difficult to get back on the right path. I have a mix of safety nets. I have a mix of personality traits. I have a mix of, you know, my risk tolerance, and I have a mix of like my skills. And I have like all these things. And so it's like, sometimes I take more risk than I should. And sometimes I keep too safe. And it's like, I feel like I'm kind of like in between. I'm not an extreme of something. The only extreme of something is that I actually am sort of comfortable in sharing my journey about that. That's kind of like where I'm extreme. I don't think that this part is normal. I think that a lot of people would find this uncomfortable. But to me, I've been doing it for so long in a progressive sort of way that the comfort level just kind of like snuck up on me. But I want you to know that I'm not the authority of like what you should be doing with your life, right? It's like, I just want to evoke some sort of like, I want you to remember that life is like what you make of it. And this is kind of like, you know, a reminder that like it doesn't have to be so crazy. Like, you can follow a safe path, but also it doesn't have to be so like safe. Like, you can explore and you can learn about yourself. And like, that's the kind of like message that I want to like convey with my content. Like, I don't ever want to be selling you a way of life at all. Because I feel like a lot of people are stuck, myself included. And it's like, that's not abnormal. But I want to kind of like show that I have desire to not be stuck. The way that I do it is just like one way to do it, right? And so like, you can learn from me if you want to. You can learn from like, what does a person that previously felt stuck do or feel, or like, what do they do? I feel like that's the most helpful kind of thing than like to, because it's not an outline. It allows you to do your own thing with what I'm doing, right? It's like not, maybe I'm over explaining this, which is like something that I do. I need to get better at that, but like, you understand. If you watch me, if you're watching this at this part of the video, hats off to you. But also, I feel like you just get that about me anyways. It's like, I over explain something because I just want you to understand it. Anyways, that was the longest hey, this is what we're gonna do now kind of video that made no sense. But to me, it made all the sense. But hopefully it made some sense to somebody else. But anyways, that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna think on the, not the concept, because the concept is obvious. I just explained it for like 100 years just now. But the timeline of things, the consistency of things. I'm gonna mull over the pros and cons of like being consistent or making things when I want to and then sharing them. Cause okay, so like a third option would be to make this ahead of time. Make this, so like today is January 11th. And so I could wait until I had like 6 or 7 videos and I could just drop them consistently every Friday, and that would have no effect really on how I felt about the content, because I would be making it in a way that's like removed from when you're seeing it. What happened in my life wouldn't be so fresh because I'd already created it, I'd already moved on by the time that you're ready to consume it. That creates a different dynamic than if I made it that day, it just barely happened, and I put it right up. I could do that too. And I'm not sure, that requires like a lot of organizational elements of things on my part, but I can do better at that. So I can create a consistent outcome for you. And I could be true to like how I feel about content creation. Because it gets more comfortable. Do you see that? It gets more comfortable the more time that I'm removed from it. It gets more comfortable. And part of like what's, you know, special about it is like that element of like, I'm out of my comfort zone by doing this, by sharing this, by not knowing that I have it all figured out and I'm explaining it to you in its raw form, right? Like that's difficult because it feels like I'm sharing an unfinished thing for people who want something finished. And for people who like think that they can influence the unfinished. If I share something more finished, it's more protected because the audience feels like it's something that's already been done rather than something that they can influence. Whether or not you know that, I feel like that's part of like the dynamic. So I'm going to think about what I'm going to do as far as the schedule, but I'm not going to think about what I'm going to share. I'm just going to try to make sure that it follows those elements. Is it an aha moment? Am I doing it in a way that makes me feel a little bit scared or good? Like, am I doing something that feels good, that feels consistent with how it normally feels when I know that it's like a good share? And can I do it in a way that is sustainable for me mentally, to like not burn me out, but to keep it real? So like that's what I want to do moving forward. And if you want to watch, I would gladly appreciate you guys being back on the journey with me. I would love that, actually. So thank you for watching, and I will see you guys hopefully very soon. Take care.